Yes, the question. The more distracted the mind is, the more it believes in diversity. The more it believes in different things to be different. Taking different things, letting your mind be subject to differences is what is called as chaos. Understand this clearly. Letting your mind become a victim of differences is what is called as chaos. A chaotic mind sees too many things and takes all of them to be independent of each other. I will come to it. I understand it's a little abstract right now. We'll get it. Then comes a mind that is not so amorphous, that is crystallizing a little. It starts seeing few principles. It starts seeing that even though things, people, time, situations, they appear different and diverse, yet there is an underlying principle that unites them. They are not actually different, they only appear different. It's a little bit like a layman thinking that the wall is qualitatively different from the fan, which is qualitatively different from the air, which is very different from water. And a scientist comes and says, no, they are not actually all that different. They are all made of molecules and molecules are similar. And yes, at the molecular level, they are different. But at the atomic level, even that difference vanishes. All right. Even the atoms may be different, but the constituents of the atom are not at all different. So the scientist starts seeing an underlying similarity. The scientist starts seeing an underlying similarity, an underlying unity. He also starts seeing that the physical world, though it appears to be moving around in 1,000 directions, yet it is governed by a few basic laws. Everything appears so random, but it is not actually random. Everything appears so different, but nothing is discrete. They are all being governed by a few basic laws, and even those laws are not very different. Those laws are just one. Similarly, a person whose mind is very, very chaotic, divided, distributed, he looks at his relationships with everybody and he thinks that he is in different kinds of relationships. He'll say, I have one relationship with my girlfriend, I have another relationship with my parents, I have another relationship with my bike, I have a fourth kind of relationship with animals, a fifth with teachers, a sixth with science and technology, a seventh with books and ideas, and he thinks that there are diverse relationships. But a little bit of understanding and he realizes that no, relationships are not really different. Ultimately, most of my relationships are driven just by two factors, greed and fear. So he says, why call all these relationships as different? Ultimately, I am operating only in greed and fear, nothing else. So from apparent diversity, the mind starts coming towards a few or one. The mind starts coming towards a few or one. The senses always tell you that there are many, many and many. Or the senses, whenever they perceive, all that they perceive is differences. All that they perceive is limitation. You cannot be perceived if you do not have a limit.
Yeah.
A word cannot be perceived if it does not ever stop. If there is something that is always continuing, it cannot be perceived. For example, you can never perceive silence because silence is ever continuous. It is always a background against all noises. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
So at the level of the senses, things are very, very divided and amorphous. Then when you look at the mind, you find that there are underlying principles. I gave the example of fear and greed. And then when you go further down, then you say that whatever the mind is doing is originating from a single source. Everything is a manifestation of that source. Then you do not say that things are different at all. Then at some level you start seeing that this is the same as 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 everything else. Now diversity comes to an end. Division comes to an end. Naming comes to an end. You start seeing a particular oneness. You start seeing that only that source exists. It may appear to be diverse, but actually only that source exists. In other words, you say that the source alone exists.
Various different forms.
The forms may be different, but the source alone exists. When you see that the source alone exists, even though it manifests itself in a billion forms, this is called aloneness. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? The one who can see that alone in everything and everybody, he is alone. That alone, only that, nothing else. He knows then that existence is not divided. He knows then that even though the branches may be different, the twigs may be different, the leaves may be different, but the root is one. And the root alone is expressing itself as the huge tree. This is aloneness. The root alone exists. Leaves will fall. Even the branches will come and go. The root alone really exists. This is aloneness. Is that becoming clear?
Sir, that we know that the root alone exists and that we are part of the same source from which everything originates. How would that help us to be alone? Because the thing is, even after knowing all this, you have these gratifying experiences or maybe the thoughts that come to your mind which take you away.
When I am saying the root alone exists, can you say I? Then what are you? When the root alone exists, who are you? The root. The root. That alone. So why are you asking this question? That what will I do? What can I think?
Even if after a long time, root will also come to an end. Even after a long time, it will also come to an end. It will have the root will also come to an end.
Yes, of course. The root will also come to an end. Yes. If the root is a part of the mental world, that is why that root that we are talking of, which alone exists, is beyond senses, is beyond the mind. Whatever is there in the mind, you're very right, will always come to an end. Whatever is in the mind is subject to origination and demise.
Sir, aloneness means ignoring the word.
No, aloneness does not mean ignoring the word. At a very practical level, aloneness means the other is not very different from me. I cannot be too angry at anybody. The mind is one. He operates out of fear, but I too operate out of fear. What right do I have to be so angry? Whatever is happening in the entire world is ultimately a reflection of my mind. How dare I say that the world is corrupt? Do you understand aloneness? That things are not different, things are not divided. They are unified, they are one. Do not point fingers at anybody. The chaos in the world is actually the chaos in my mind, because my mind and the world are same. They are the same. If I see that there is war and rape and dishonesty and corruption, it is because my mind too is full of sexuality and violence and greed. This is aloneness, that it is not so different as it appears. In aloneness, understand this, you cannot really take or treat anything as inferior or superior. You cannot ever claim that something is mine and something is not mine. In that sense, and we have come to something beautiful, in that sense, aloneness is a great quality of love. Ego separates, aloneness brings you closer to the entire world. Ego separates, aloneness brings you close to everything that is perceivable or thinkable.
Recently, you were explaining the source for all the things is same. So I would like to know what is the source?
It is unthinkable. It is not beyond
Aloneness can be a part.
senses.
Aloneness is a
What is the source? That pen is the source, this wall is the source.
These are the other objects.
These are not other objects. This is the only way you can know the source. By looking at the way the source manifests. You are asking if the source alone exists. I want to know the source. There is no way to know the source except by looking at the manifestations themselves. The source manifests in you. The source manifests in the tree. The source manifests in the sky, in the river. Look at them closely and you will also find the source.
But all these things, that means all these things perceived are so different, but actually the source is same.
Yes, yes. Yes. And there is no way to know the source, because the source does not exist separately. It exists only as the manifested, and it is manifesting itself continuously. Look at the manifestation, come close to it, and when you look at anything with attention, you will see the source. You will see that alone. You will see that alone. It's great. You're looking at the road and you're looking at that alone. You're looking at the sky and you're looking at that alone. You're looking at your own face and it's no longer you, it's that alone.
That's happening.
It's that alone. But let me also guarantee that when that will happen, you will not know that it is happening. So anybody who says that I have had an experience of that is lying.
No, the thing is,
Because when that will happen, you will not exist. So there is no way you can register it. There is no way you can register it.
Sir, I saw my face when you have that thing when you look your face indifferently, as if you're looking at for the
Thoughts and imaginations.
for the first time.
Nothing. It has got nothing to do with senses. It's got nothing to do with eyes. Yes, the eye will look at the road, but there is something else that will perceive differently. There is something else that would be known, and that which would be known, that would not be known as a thought. You would not be thinking that I am knowing something. Yes, now I am seeing that alone. All right, what is the time? At this time I am seeing that alone. And you, come here. I am seeing that alone. You too are seeing that alone. Yes, I am also seeing. Come give me a hug. We both are able to see that alone. These are self-deceptions.